Alright, let's dive into something that's got the tech world buzzing, the Google Pixel Watch 5. Now, before we get into the nitty-gritty, let me just say this. I've been keeping an eye on smartwatch trends for years, and what's really fascinating here is how Google is positioning this release. It's not a complete overhaul, but rather a series of incremental tweaks. And personally, I think that's both a smart move and a missed opportunity. Let me explain. First off, the Pixel Watch 5 is expected to drop on August 12th, alongside the Pixel 11 series. That's a strategic play, bundling it with a flagship phone launch to maximize buzz. But here's the thing, the leaks suggest this isn't a groundbreaking upgrade. It's more of a let's refine what we already have kind of deal. Take the storage, for example. Google's doubling it to 64 gigabytes. On paper that sounds great, right? But let's be real, how many of us are maxing out 32 gigabytes on a smartwatch? What makes this really interesting is that it's a clear response to user feedback, even if it's not the most pressing issue. It's like Google saying, we hear you, but we're not going all in on innovation just yet. Now, the battery life, or lack thereof, is where things get a bit frustrating. Reports suggest it's the same as the Pixel Watch 4, 30 to 40 hours for the 41mm model and 48 to 72 hours for the 45mm. In my opinion, this is a huge missed opportunity. Battery life is one of the biggest pain points for smartwatch users, and Google's decision to not address it feels like a cop-out. If you take a step back and think about it, this could have been their chance to really stand out in a crowded market. Instead, they're playing it safe. Another detail I find fascinating is the strap material change. The Pixel Watch 5 is swapping out the fluoroelastomer strap for a hydrogenated nitrobutadiene rubber, HNBR1. Now, HNBR is cheaper to produce and offers better tensile strength, but it's not as durable in the long run. What this really suggests is that Google's prioritizing cost efficiency over premium feel. From my perspective, that's a risky move, especially when competitors like Apple and Samsung are doubling down on premium materials. It raises a deeper question, is Google trying to compete on price rather than quality? One thing that immediately stands out is the lack of significant changes to the processor or display. The Watch 5 is still running on the Snapdragon W5 Gen 2, and the screen's reportedly the same. What many people don't realize is that this could actually be a strategic decision to keep costs down and focus on software improvements. The Watch 5 will run Wear OS 7.0 with Gemini intelligence, which could be a game-changer for AI-driven features. Personally, I think this is where Google's real play is, leaning into software to differentiate itself, even if the hardware feels a bit stale. If you ask me, the Pixel Watch 5 is a mixed bag. It's got some thoughtful upgrades, like the storage bump, but it's also got some head-scratching decisions, like the unchanged battery life. What makes this really interesting is how it reflects Google's broader strategy in the smartwatch space. They're not trying to outdo Apple or Samsung on hardware, they're trying to carve out a niche with software and integration. Whether that's enough to win over users remains to be seen. So here's my closing thought. The Pixel Watch 5 isn't a revolution, it's an evolution. And while that might disappoint some, it's also a pragmatic approach in a market that's still finding its footing. What do you think? Is Google playing it too safe, or are they onto something? Let me know in the comments below.